Mm.
Okay, so yeah, let's just get started. Um, okay, so welcome everyone to today's session. Today we're going to be talking about systems and strategies and tools to grow smarter and profitably. So I'm your host, I'm Mark Botha. I'm the founder of Sellerview, and we have a lot of awesome speakers here that are going to be talking about growing smarter and profitably. So I'm just going to kick it off. So what I'm going to be talking about today is the elephant in the room, tariffs. And how to understand our tariffs and when to protect our profits from tariffs. So I'm just going to dive into it. So what we have at Sellerview is a kind of a smart classified tool. I always recommend our sellers, our freight forwarders, sometimes put our, tariffs in. And what we want to do is just double check the tariff rates and make sure that those codes are what we think what they should be, and also getting the actual tariff rates that we're paying for those products so that we can add that into our inbound costs. So pretty simple tool to use. So say I'm coming from China, I am going to import a silicone spatula, and what we can do is just kind of takes us through a couple of prompts so that we can identify exactly what we're looking at. So say, for example, this, we have, it's this tariff here. We are using this one. And we're going to select this one. And now we have our kind of tariff. So we can see our HS code here, and we can kind of dive in further. We can have a look at, what the tariff rates are. So we have a 3% tariff. Are there any additional tariffs? We can have a look here, view additional tariffs, and we can see, okay, 0 section 301 tariff. We got that percentage there. What other tariffs are there? And then the other thing that I always like to do is just kind of double check, with these tariffs. So sometimes I just go to ChatGPT and I've already got the prompt in yet to save time. So just enter that. And now we can see our kind of classifications. We can see the other duties. Everything kind of matches up as well. So for this particular product on the silicone spatula, we have a 28%, kind of rate of duty. So, what can we do with this information? So with Sellerview, our goal is to fully understand what our costs are, not only our factory costs, but our inbound costs. So what we would do here is I would kind of grab this code, I would bring it over to Sellerview, and I would update my codes here if it's not updated, and I'll put my rates and duties inside here. Because one of the things that what we want to do is make it efficient and time effective for sellers to know what those costs are. So with Sellerview, what you can do is you can upload your customs invoice, put your totals in there and all your packlist information in there, and then it will automatically calculate what those costs are. And then another thing that you can do with this is there a way to make this better? Is there a different classification if I bring it in something else? So we can just kind of see if there's another way that we can kind of reclassify this product. And I've gone through this, there's nothing you can do. So it's always just good to kind of check and see if there's ways to minimize that profit. So once you got that inside Sellerview, we now can automatically track those costs, track those inbound costs, so that when we come to our catalog page, we know exactly what our kind of landed inbound costs are, our lead time, and then our stock values as well. So that goes along with that. And then in terms of when we're looking at understanding our costs, so for the purpose of this webinar, what we've created is kind of a cost control worksheet. We always talk about spreadsheets and how sometimes as you grow in your business, they can become kind of burdensome. They aren't always effective as they should be. So one of the things that you can do with this importer, this cost calculator importer, is add all your invoices onto the spreadsheet. Your products, everything is inside here. You can understand kind of what your product details are. what your desired margins are, you'll get a total purchase price and your equivalent margin. At the end of the day, what we want to understand is what our shipping costs are on a per unit basis. So that's one of the things that SellerView does, is calculates the cost of products based on cubic meters of the box. So a lot of issues, what happened with sellers is, say you import a container and there's 10,000 units in the container, and you pay $10,000 for the container. You might just say, okay, well, it costs $1 to ship. So using kind of the cubic meter formula is that we can see here, let's see if we can zoom in a bit. So you can see the shipping costs on these products ranges from 33 cents to 92 cents to 17 cents down to 12 cents. So, just assigning a per unit basis on a product can cost you cost allocations and margins later. And the same with your tariffs, making sure that the tariffs are correct. So you can see it the same here. This is 86 cents. This is 37 cents. This is 49 cents. And this is all based off our import duties. So making sure that these duties are correct. So I did do another example here on I've already done it to save time. But we have a metal spatula. So you can see, kind of gone through the same classifications here. You can see the HS code is different, and we can see our import information is different. So the general rate and duty of this one is 5. Are there any additional tariffs? And it's 20% on this one as well. So this is just a good exercise to understand, one, if you're sourcing a new product, what the possible profit implications of importing that product will be. Finding and identifying these issues before you import, or actually before you even pay that purchase order, can save you thousands and thousands of dollars in the long run. So once we got that inside, you can add your tariffs into this, and you get down to your final costs. So this is where we can see our total purchase cost, we can see our total shipping cost, our total tariff costs, and then broken down into a per unit. We got our desired profit, we got our listing price. So this is all kind of automated in the spreadsheets that you guys can have today. I'll show you a link in a second, so you can go ahead, you can grab the spreadsheet. Obviously, it's not as ideal as using an automated tool like SellerView, but this will get you started. At the end of the day, we want to see exactly how much profit we're going to make from this product, and also our contribution margin. So for you guys who don't understand the contribution margin or what it is, the contribution margin is your revenue minus the cost of that product. So you can have an understanding on, at the end, after you've paid fulfillment and after you've paid ads, exactly what your profit margin will be. So you guys can grab this free tool. And then lastly, there's product information as well. So it's always good to have all your information in one place so that you know exactly what your product lengths are, what your dimensions are, what your case dimensions are, what your codes are, what your materials of your products are, the lead time, your landed costs, all of that in one simple, easy to find sheet. And then you guys can hop this. So this is actually did something here. So this course is available as on like a pay what you want basis. So you can pay $0, you can pay whatever you want. And the link for this course is here. So yeah, get you this cost control kit. Just go to gosellerview.com/cost control bonus, or just take a screen grab of that. And that's it. So again, just reclassifying, understanding your tariff codes, understanding your shipping costs, all play a part in understanding your profits and protecting your profit in the long run. Okay, so that's it for me. And next up, we got Vincenzo.
Yeah, that's me, Mark. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Thank you for having me. So pleasure to be here, guys. I appreciate the opportunity. So let me just quickly start sharing my screen so we can go into today's topic from my side. So for everybody just joining for my presentation, I'm gonna be quickly going over some of the strategies. I would say more than strategy mistakes I keep seeing people doing when it comes to PPC that I is wasting a lot of money for a lot of people. Like it's burning their money essentially. And I just wanted to highlight a few of them, a few of the concepts, and hopefully that's gonna make the whole, ecosystem that we experience right now in Amazon in 2025 much easier to navigate. So let me just start with a quick introduction about myself. My name is Vincenzo Toscano, founder and CEO of eCommerce. We've been in the space for over 7 years now. We specialize in doing full brand management across Amazon and Walmart brands with a team of over 70 people. We have a portfolio over 9 figures in revenue managed. So we have a lot of expertise when it comes to managing brands from A to Z. And that's how we have, identified a lot of the things that we're going to be sharing today that consistently are effectively are holding the brands from growing forward, specifically on today's topic, which is PPC. And beyond that, if anybody's interested, I also have a podcast called the Commerce Lab, where we're having, some of great experts, some of them in today's call. So if you're keen to check it out, feel free to have a look. Yeah, we can dive into this topic right away, which is effectively how we can, maximize our performance when it comes to PPC. So I guess the first thing I want to go into when it comes to PPC is a lot of the myths I see when people, start managing their advertising campaigns. Okay, and some of the things I see constantly, and this is on a daily basis, and you will think this is not happening, but still happening in 2025, is how people just blindly just follow recommendations from Amazon when it comes to campaigns. This only doesn't come from a bid perspective, which a lot of people just follow blindly what the bids have to do at the keyword level. It also has to do with the campaign structure and campaigns you have to go for. As we know, Amazon now has implemented a lot of recommendation on the PPC dashboard, and a lot of that, unfortunately, doesn't usually has the best interest in mind when it comes to be cost effective. So I would say that's something that I would recommend for everybody doing PPC to avoid at all costs. Like educate yourself or work with experts when it comes to that, because another mistake that derives from that is effectively how people are not really going in depth when it comes to the data of their PPC campaigns, right? So I would say starting with the bids side of things, this is where I would say it's one of the main number one mistakes that's breaking everybody pockets when it comes to PPC, because bids at the end of the day, a lot of times, and this I'm sure for all people in the call, experts that do PPC, when you guys do audits, you have seen that people just use arbitrary bids. They usually just go with the suggested, or they just follow effectively what they think is a good number to go when it comes to bids. But realistically, there's a mathematical kind of science behind the bid to actually make sure if the bid makes sense for you or not in the first place. There's actually something that everybody should be doing before running any kind of PPC in the first place. That you need to know what is the margin behind your product, and understanding if in the first place your actual product can make money. Because if you actually have a look at what is going to be your price one, you have a look at what is going to be potentially your target ACOS based on your margin, and then you have a look at the conversion rate, which conversion rate is another important thing people don't take in consideration. You have to consider that for certain categories, conversion rate could be 5% compared to others that could be 20%. So you need to understand what is the baseline across all your niche. Because if you're just assuming that it's a flat kind of percentage because you just think that the average conversion everybody on Amazon is 15%, you can end up having a very rough journey when it comes to PPC, because then mathematically, even if you had the perfect product, the perfect offer, the math is just not there based on the current CPC of the market to make you profitable. So as you can see, it's a simple calculation, understanding your target ACOS, per price, a conversion rate. That's going to give you starting bits when it comes to your PPC. Now, I know this sounds basic, but you'll be surprised how many times, countless time on a daily basis when you check accounts, people is not doing this. So this is a must. You need to understand which bits you had to go for. Like a very clear example here is like understanding, what's the difference between your break-even ACOS compared to your target kind of TACOS. A lot of times, people only stay on the surface of ACOS. In fact, a lot of times when we even have conversation with on clients, the whole conversation about ACOS, ACOS, ACOS. But actually, you need to understand what is the bigger picture beyond ACOS. Like you need to understand what is the influence of other fees, like your cost of goods, Amazon fees, total organic sales, and that's why TACOS is a good indicator. But of course, if you don't know what is that indicator in the first place, going back to the formula I just showed you, you're gonna end up with bids that, regardless of how amazing your sponsor product, sponsor brand, sponsor display campaigns are set up, you effectively are never gonna be profitable in the first place. And that brings me to my top 5 kind of mistakes that I feel if you don't take care of right now, they're not going to boost your profitability. So the first one is the top performing kind of focus. Like on the other side, like a lot of the mistakes I see is people have usually a big catalog. They might have 5 to 10 SKUs, and they don't apply the 80/20 rule. They might have a lot of kind of SKUs into their portfolio, and then they'll actually focus, okay, which portfolio is the one that actually makes me the most profitable? And from there, how do I make the decision of which one I have to prioritize? Because if you have a limited budget and you just do what most people do, which is just spread the budget across the whole account, most likely you're not going to prioritize the one that's giving you the best return on investment. So make sure you understand that. The negation of keywords is another big thing. Like I know a lot of people try to optimize based on bids, and that's still a good strategy, but you need to make sure the negation is in place once you start getting enough data, because if not, you consistently can start showing for specific variation of a keyword that has to do with a variation that you don't sell, specific size, specific kind of denomination that has nothing to do with your product, and you're just burning money. Separation of campaign, huge thing. I keep seeing 2025 people combining Excel with phrase and broad. That's like a killer for me every single time I see that. You need to make sure segmentation is in place, not only at the keyword targeting type, but also the product level. Bidding, big thing. Like if you actually don't have proven data on specific keyword, you should never be doing up and down. You should always focus on either on fixed bids or down only. And the final one is placement optimization, which now I will add an extra bracket is audiences. A lot of time people are not focusing on top of the search, rest of the search, product details pages. Put a lot of focus on that. You're gonna be surprised how many times you have better conversion certain placements that you're not leveraging. Now, when I would say, just to go a little bit more deep and make it more graphical to start coming to a conclusion, like this is the level of granularity I want to achieve, like based on product, based on keywords, based on goals. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have granularity, at the end of the day, you can optimize. You don't know what is performing, what is bleeding, what you need to put off, why you need to put more budget. So make sure that a segmentation is in place, otherwise profitability is going to be a very tough thing for you to achieve. And here's a very quick example of how you can start focusing on optimizing your campaigns in terms of actionables, right? So some of the things, this goes to the 80/20 rule, right? So we found that in this specific case, the client was investing a lot of time into putting budget across 50% of the catalog that was underperforming in terms of ACOS and monthly sales. And it was a simple change. It was just distributing that budget towards the top performing ASIN that was being consistent, providing results to that account. Just by doing that, we had a huge growth, 20% of ACOS, and increase in sales of over 250K. So what I'm trying to say is just small things like that, like redistributing what makes you money or doesn't make you money, and make sure you have the segmentation in place, can make a huge difference on your PPC. And another thing here is another thing I wanted to go a bit more in depth in terms of other mistakes, like auto campaigns are not a huge thing. Or they, funny enough, I had a client, they were making over $5 million per year on Amazon. We did the audit, and they only had like 10 auto campaigns. That's the only thing they run their PPC on. And when I see things like that, it's like, that's crazy. Like when you have that amount of data, you should be going into manual campaigns. So make sure auto campaigns just a mean towards an end. You identify the keywords that work, the keywords that don't work, negate, escalate to manual. The same with broad campaigns, and make sure that the structure is solid. If it's poor, the more money you spend, the more inefficient it's gonna get. And I guess to conclude is another thing that also put a lot of emphasis when it comes to this is, of course, I focus a lot on the mistakes and fundamentals that should be missing when it comes to PPC, but everything has to be data driven. Like at the end of the day, I know a lot of people might have certain intuitions around specific markets, around specific niche, but if you don't have the data to prove a keyword, to prove a bid, to prove a specific segmentation, there's no point on kind of letting the market decide for you. Like you need to have some fundamentals on which the PPC is going to build amount in terms of, the focus you're going to go long term, if the pro is going to work, if it's not going to work, and so on. So that's everything from my side. Of course, if you want to have a deeper conversation about, how we can help you with PPC and make you more profitable, feel free to scan the QR code on the screen. We're more than happy with my team to add value as much as possible. And that's everything from me. And thank you so much for having me. Pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think, again, PPC is just another big area where, it's important to manage properly so that you manage that bottom line at the end of the day. So awesome. Well, thank you very much. Next, I think we have Andrew.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Obviously, everyone who joined us, thank you as well. Can you guys see my screen? Everything good?
Yep.
Beautiful. For those of you who may not know who I am, my name is Andrew Maff. I'm the founder and CEO of Blue Tusker. I personally have been in the e-commerce marketing industry for, I think, 16 years now. I've been in multiple 9-figure brands internally. I've owned several different agencies. I'm also the host of the eCom show, so I get to talk to e-commerce brands all day long. I get to work with them. I get to have conversations with them. This is basically what I live and breathe. And I really like to talk more about the omni-channel side. So I know a lot of what we're talking about today is specific to the Amazon side of things. And I want to make sure that brands are aware that there are ways to actually grow your Amazon business from off Amazon. And so this is actually kind of what I'm leaning into, is a little bit of both here. So we do a lot of SEO strategies from an off Amazon perspective, right? Like, I'm sure we're going to have several conversations today about how to properly optimize a listing and do keyword research on the Amazon marketplace, but there are actually SEO wins you can have from an off Amazon perspective. And so what I'm going to be focusing on today is how you can actually boost your BSR with a Google SEO strategy and actually see how there's ways from an off Amazon perspective to grow your business. Now, I know I've got 10 minutes, so I'm going to talk kind of fast. So if at any point I overstep anything, feel free to jump in with any questions. But there's a reason I like to look at things this way, right? So like over the past 5 years, Amazon has increased their FBA fees by an average of 10% year over year. CPCs have averaged an increase of 8% year over year, and competition has averaged an increase of 6% year over year. So interestingly enough, at Prosper this year, I was able to kind of have a similar conversation, and I got lucky/unlucky enough to do the conversation right next to Amazon's booth, where I'm basically telling people to diversify. And one of the guys told me, I take it with a grain of salt because it seems obnoxiously large, but 73% of Amazon US sales last year were from overseas brands. Now, they could have an entity in the States and they may not. It was a mix of the two. Seems astronomically large, but even if it's close, it's huge. So what's happening is Amazon fees and costs for anything are going up, while competition is coming in and keeping the product costs that you can basically charge down. So it's just crushing margins. And so what I help look with brands is I help them look at A, how can we diversify so we're not so reliant on Amazon, but then B, how can you combat these things? And in some ways, that is not competing with really broad keywords that are constantly increasing in spend. So I don't want to brag, but we're going to talk about brag because that is one of our clients. So this is something that we did exactly with them. So I'm going to walk through exactly what we did with them from an off Amazon perspective to help them grow on Amazon. So SEO basics real quick, just to make sure we're all on the same page with how this stuff works. Every website has a domain authority, right? So Amazon's 100, Facebook's 100, Google's 100. Those are like the main ones. But every single page on a website has a page authority, right? So when you launch a new listing, you're not starting at 100 domain authority. You're starting at a really low basic page authority. Now, SEO, the more and more you actually grow towards a specific page, that page authority can grow up. Now, when you're on a domain authority that's at 100, it grows a lot faster. So you can actually do less SEO work from an off Amazon perspective and grow your listing faster than you could on your website, right? So you kind of think of it as like a back door to growing the Amazon business. So the higher the page authority goes, the better you will rank on Google for those specific keywords that you're ranking for. And obviously, you will start to move up the page on Google. We all know, just like on Amazon, if you're on page 1, you start to get more and more traffic. So if you can get your listing to rank on page 1 on Google, you start to see more and more traffic come to your Amazon listing. Standard of Amazon, the more traffic that you're driving to your listing, the more sales you're getting, the more engagement you're getting, the higher your BSR starts to go. And so Amazon loves this external traffic. So it's a great way to kind of come in through that back door, right? So obviously, the more clicks you have, the more conversions you have, the better rankings, thus more sales, things grow through that, but you're not paying for it, right? Or at least you're not paying for the advertising element of it. So it's just coming from an off Amazon SEO strategy. Now, no ad spend is required, which is fantastic. And this also kind of comes from a branded perspective. But how does it work, right? So I know we're talking about both strategies and as well as tools. And so one of those things that we talk about is we leverage SEMrush, right? There's a ton of different platforms that do it. This is just the one that we use. So you can actually go to SEMrush, put in your Amazon ASIN URL, and it will tell you what that page authority is for that specific product. So you can kind of see here, I just went through the steps of what we literally just do with Brag. And you can set alerts to get notified of when people are linking to you and there's, some new backlink to it. And so that's where we look at like, okay, how does that actually start to help improve it? So very standard SEO practices. The more backlinks you can get to a website of any kind or a specific page, the better that page starts to rank. And so backlinking opportunities, even towards an Amazon listing from off Amazon, can be very beneficial. The other side of it is just increased traffic. So a lot of brands see, okay, if I'm increasing my traffic, then I start to see off my Amazon ranking starts to go up. That's because Amazon loves off Amazon traffic. Not entirely true. Amazon does love off Amazon traffic as long as it's qualified traffic. It has to convert. It has to bring in orders. If you're ranking higher and higher on Google, that's going to be extremely qualified traffic. So they're going to be more likely to convert. So you can look at doing things like getting more backlinks to an individual listing, or you can actually just build out your own content. Amazon listings don't have blogs, but you can create your own. Some brands, obviously, they have their own website. And what we suggest doing is if you have a blog, incorporate some of your Amazon listings because it will help with backlinking. But if you don't, even some brands will just create a blog and they'll create their own content to be able to help with those backlinking opportunities. So that's where you can start looking at, okay, then what can I do from there? So then you look at, okay, you got standard backlinking. You reach out to someone, say like, hey, I saw you're talking about this. I'd love for you to link to our listing. Others are shared backlinks. So you would need to have your own blog where you link to them if they link to you. Others would be affiliate outreach or getting listed on like a roundup or a review. So like if you're big in Q4, top X gifts for dad is a great thing to find, where if you can get listed on that, plus you'll get the added traffic. Guest posts are fantastic. Press mentions are fantastic. There's a ton of different ways. Yes, even for garlic presses. I know everyone likes to talk about that, guys. Garlic press. And there's ways to speed it up, right? Because the big problem about SEO that everyone always talks about is like, yeah, everything you do today is going to take a long time, but 6 months, maybe a year from now, you're going to be very thankful you did it. So there's ways to speed things up by doing like a max clicks campaign on Google. You're actually driving that traffic to that listing. The more and more traffic that you get to that listing and more engagement, as long as it's qualified, it will actually start to improve the organic ranking. Same with social ads, same if you're running email, really anything you can do to drive that traffic to that Amazon listing, or even to a blog post that you're trying to get it to rank better because it's linking back to your Amazon listings. So, of course, if you're using the Amazon listing link in any content, use your attribution link. You're going to get 10% off for anyone that comes through there. The bigger benefit, especially from an SEO perspective, is usually just getting that link because it's someone that's referencing Google. But if you're going to get the traffic, get the 10%. So there's a ton of different ways you can look at it that way. If you're not creating the content, we always recommend start your own blog at a minimum, and it's a great way to be able to control improving the ranking of your own listing. You can also look at doing guest posts, which is just you write on one person's blog, maybe they write on yours. Short-term video, short form video, on YouTube works fantastically because YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, they're all search engines at this point. So you just have to make sure that you're answering the searcher's intent. And it's a great way to get people over to that article that could then help it rank even further. And actually, I wanted to show you one thing real quick because we mentioned it here. So you can see you have Bragg on the left-hand side there, right here with the apple cider vinegar, the vitamin D and zinc. This is a clear example of when brands are like, I don't understand why so-and-so is outranking me, right? In this scenario, they only have 20,000 reviews. They're at a 4.5, but it's 20,000. We all know, like, after you get over 1,000, it's kind of a moot point. The other one's got 365,000, but they're still outranking them. Usually this happens because they are getting so much traffic from other places that even though they don't have the reviews at that time, they are now outranking on the Amazon platform. So this is primarily leading from not only the rankings that they're seeing from the SEO initiatives that they're getting traffic from Google, but it's also from the other initiatives they're doing to drive traffic from an off Amazon perspective. And that is what I was focused on today. Omnichannel, I live and breathe it. That's what my whole team does. We focus on brands, helping them grow both on and off Amazon. If you head over to bluetusker.com/omnichannel, we will make sure to hook you up, because I always try to hook up Mark when he lets me do these things. So we've got a free omnichannel marketing review and a 30-minute consultation with one of our experts that oversees all this stuff. Again, bluetusker.com/omnichannel. And that was it for me today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. That was awesome. Yeah, guys, if you definitely take advantage of that. Andrew's awesome. I really appreciate it. And Omar, I think you're up.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will try to be as efficient as possible.
No worries.
And let's begin. Okay, I'm going to talk about QC and inspections. I know it's not very sexy topic, like everyone wants to know how to make more money, but the thing about QC and inspection, if you don't do it right, you're gonna lose money, which for me is worse than not earning money. So what I'm going to talk about is how to avoid defects, okay? And I'm going to talk about 3 strategies if you are making expensive product, mid-price product, and low-price product. Just for you to know why to listen to me and that I'm not bullshitting you. For the last decade, I'm in Asia, China, Vietnam, India, Thailand, helping brands around the world to source product, manufacture, and do QC for the product. And I'm just going to dive into the materials, and I want to start with the process of how to avoid defects if you are making expensive products, okay? You are buying from factories expensive product. And I'm going to talk about how to create a culture of 0 defects, okay? Now, I do want to say, when I'm talking about 0 defects, I'm not talking about 0 defects inside the factories, but I'm talking about 0 defects once you start selling the product on Amazon, e-commerce shop, retail shop, or wherever. So if you are selling a high-end product, expensive product, the first thing you need to do before starting the order with the factory is to make sure you prepare for the factory very detailed quality and compliance requirement. Now, I know it sounds very clear. Yeah, we need to tell the factory the product needs to be very high quality. If not, you're gonna need to refund and give us the money back. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about writing in details on every aspect of the product. Just for example, let's say the product is a pen, how a good product look like. The second thing is we want to set expectation with the factory, okay? He needs to know what kind of quality we expect. So when we are talking about a expensive product, we want to set an expectation that we are ready to bear, at least the way I see it, 0.5% defective units, okay? Anything above it is unacceptable. Now, I want to talk about the process of how we are making it happen. So number 1, we said set clear expectation before the order. Number 2, once we start the production, we want to tell the factory 2 things. Number 1, when the first unit is ready, you're gonna need to take a picture and send me. We always want to look at a picture of the first unit from production to make sure it's right. The second thing we want to do is to make a quality inspection, third-party inspection, however you call it, in the beginning of production. When I say beginning of production, when about 10% of the goods are ready. The reason we are doing this is we want to find defects at early stage. We don't want to wait to the end when everything is ready. Now, we made an inspection once 10% of the goods are ready, and usually the inspector is gonna find some defects. We're gonna ask the factory to fix it and send us picture as a proof he actually fixed it. Next, we're gonna meet the factory when all the goods are ready. We're gonna do another final inspection, and we're gonna check about 10% of the goods, 12% of the goods, and we want to check 2 things. Number 1, the factory actually fixed everything we found in the first inspection, in the inline inspection, and make sure there aren't any more defects. Now, when we do expensive product, high-end product, I will also ask the factory to send me his own QC report. Usually, if it's like mid-price product, the factory doesn't really have his own QC system, but for expensive products, they should have. I will also ask them to send me their own report. So I'm actually going to do 2 QC. 1, the factory QC, I will check the report, and second, my own QC. Now, point number 6, which is most important. You do all this process of inspection, and eventually you send the product to the marketplace, Amazon, Shopify, wherever. And you're gonna have reviews. Now, any bad reviews you got, you want to take it and to add it to the original expectation form you prepared for the factory, where you explained what you expect in terms of QC, and you want to add it and resend it to the factory. And this is how you make from order to order the defect percentage go down, because every time you take the feedback from the market, you add it to the QC expectation and send it to the factory. Now I want to talk how you do it if you buy mid-price product. So when I talk about mid-price product, is most of the products that today Amazon sellers are making. So it's not very high end, not very low end with low margin. And here we want to balance the cost of quality, but we also need to make sure we are reasonable with the factory, because if our expectations are too high, it will also increase the cost of the product, and we don't want this to happen. So in this case, usually we will allow a 1 to 1.5 defective unit percentage. Anything above this, the factory is gonna need to replace or credit us. And I just want to say, maybe some people listen to this and say, why should I accept 1% defective? I want for any defective piece, the factory to refund us. But what you need to understand, and this I say with 10 years of experience in Asia, if you're expecting a Japanese quality, you need to be able to bear Japanese price, okay? Even if you are working in China. So I don't want to make the factory understand I'm expecting a Japanese quality, which means no defect. I want to tell them ahead, as part of my expectation setting, I will be able to bear 1% of defective units. Anything above this, you're gonna need to refund. Now here the process is very similar to before. The only thing that is actually different is here I will not ask the factory to send me his own QC report, because usually for this type of product, the factory doesn't have his own QC report and system. So again, we're gonna do inspection in the beginning of production and another inspection in the end of production. And again, once we launch the product, we're gonna take the review and add it to our expectation QC document. Lastly, I want to talk about low price products, okay? Because maybe some of you are selling it. The main thing here, you want the supplier to be able to quote you as low as possible without being afraid of needing to paying you back, okay? So let me explain you. If you want to sell product in very cheap price, mean you want to buy it in very cheap price, the supplier need to understand you are going to bear some defective product. It doesn't mean you are actually going to ship defective product to the US or Europe, but you're going to bear it during the inspection. So the way we're gonna do it is we're gonna make extra 5 to 10% of the goods. So just for example, if I want to ship to Amazon USA 1,000 pieces, I will actually manufacture 1,100 pieces, but I will ship only 1,000, okay? Here I will tell to the supplier I'm able to bear 3 to 5% of defective goods, okay? Which means he can do less QC from his side, and this way he can lower the production costs. And in terms of our system, what we want to do is this time we'll do only one inspection in the end of the production and not 2 in the beginning and the end, okay? And like I said before, we're gonna make a extra product, extra units. So even if we found defects, we're just gonna put them aside and we are not going to ship them. I'm not going to charge the factory for it, okay? Now, I can tell you from experience, because I worked with some huge brands, that brands like Muji, for example, or Miniso, that working in really high quantity, even though they sometimes make like low price product, they still gonna do to inspection. But if I'm looking at the average Amazon seller that want to sell low price product, one should be enough. So I was as fast as possible. I just want to say, whoever want to get more value and info, we try to post on LinkedIn every day, pure value. Just follow me. I'm gonna send the link here in the chat. And if you're interested in quality control or product sourcing, you can just message me or email me or WhatsApp me. It will be the best way to reach me. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Omer. That's great. Yeah, I mean, all these little things add up. Even if you get 1% back in margin, that's money back in your pocket. $1 million, 1%, that's 10 grand. Even if you took that 10 grand and reinvested into a brand new product, that's room for growth. That's a loss, but also a lost opportunity. So all these things that we're learning today are money back in your pocket. And so yeah, it's important just to do them, I guess. All right, so next up we got Zeke. Did I say that right?
Zeke.
Zeke. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, of course. Let me share my screen here. All right, here we go. All very, very interesting. Thank you guys for sharing. It's I feel like we're covering so many different areas of what it takes to be successful in e-commerce. My background is in analytics, statistics, economics, and I've been working for the last 2 decades helping companies build machine learning and analytics solutions to figure out what ads are driving their sales so they can invest in the right channels and campaigns. My company is Data Speaks, and today I want to tell you about why pixels are broken, why platforms like Google, Meta, TikTok are promoting, advocating for a unified measurement for marketing, what that looks like, and what kind of impact you can have in your business if you upgrade from these pixels that are so unreliable to something more more robust that helps you understand what actually is driving sales. So you probably heard the saying, I think it's John Wanamaker that said, half of my ads are being wasted. I just don't know which half. And we found that it's actually not half, but it's a little bit over a third. So let me share my screen and I'll get into why this is happening. So in the US, brands waste 36 cents out of each dollar they invest into ads. Nobody wants to waste money on purpose. Obviously, this is, even if you're looking at data, if your data is incorrect, it's going to lead you to make the wrong decisions. So you're going to be investing too much in ads that are unprofitable and too little on ads that actually are profitable. So I think most of us on the call understand that intuitively. We know that pixels are limited. What I think most people usually don't see the full picture on is exactly how inaccurate they are and why it's such a big deal. So what we found is that on average, the error margin for pixels is 50%. That's average. Sometimes it's even worse. Sometimes it could be 10 times more, 10 times less. So even if we take the average, a campaign reporting $100,000 in sales might have made 50,000, might have made 150,000. And that's often the difference between an unprofitable campaign that we need to pause right away and a very profitable campaign that we need to double down on. So why does this happen? I don't know why this is showing right here. Let me delete this stuff and jump right in. Sorry, I was obviously putting this together at the last minute. There we go. So why pixels are so inaccurate? So let's think about the landscape, right? We have our marketing channels that we use to drive sales, and then we have our sales channels where we sell products. For sales channels, we have marketplaces and retail. We have Amazon, Walmart, Target, any kind of retail distribution. That usually accounts for 40% of the sales of products advertised online. And then web sales accounts for 60%. For marketing channels, we have about 70% is spent on top of funnel, essentially awareness, and with the objective of acquiring new customers. And we have things like TV, audio, podcasts, social ads, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We have YouTube, we have programmatic, and we have some of the media that Google offers, such as Performance Max and demand generation. Middle of funnel, this is where we are going after engaged visitors. So it's people that visited our website, people that added products to our cart, email subscribers, and people who engage with our ads. Maybe they played a video or commented on an ad on Facebook. That accounts for 15% of all the spend. And then the bottom of the funnel essentially is our customers, right? So whether we are retargeting them or they're searching for our brands, these people know who we are. And that's 15% of spend. So this is the whole area of what we would want to track. But really what happens is part of that is not trackable by traditional pixels. So if you are advertising on Facebook or Instagram, a lot of that is impacting your sales on Amazon, but you can't really see that. Then we also have that 17% of all the spend is on advertising channels that don't allow you to click. So video and audio. And by the way, the return on investment for these channels is much, much higher than anything else by a factor of 5. So if you guys are not using that, I strongly suggest that you look into it. Platforms like Spotify, for example, are huge, undervalued media for most brands. Then we have, for what's left, 42% of all devices in the United States block these third-party pixels. So if you have an iPhone, an iPad, any kind of iOS device, if you use Firefox, if you have an ad blocker, there's CCPA, GDPR, etc. So you could see that little by little, this starts narrowing down more and more. Then we have unattributed sales. So what this means that there are outside attribution windows. So most attribution windows are 7-day click, 1-day view. And 38% of all the interactions with ads happen outside this window. And that's even worse for top of funnel, which is 52%, because for most products, people spend longer than 7 days in their sales cycle between the time they see your ad for the first time and the time they actually purchase. So a lot of that is being ignored, essentially. And we could see that this is less and less as we go down the funnel, because if you're searching for a brand, you're more likely to buy within the 7 days. So this really isn't a problem of coverage only, but it's also a problem of skewing data that over attributes bottom of funnel and severely under attributes top of funnel. And then we have unmatched conversions. So 85% of people see an ad on one device and buys on another device. So usually that's you're browsing on your phone, on YouTube or Instagram, you see something, you go to your desktop and purchase. A lot of those times, the algorithms can't figure out that those two devices belong to the same people. So you end up with, one interaction with an ad without a purchase, and then a purchase without a source to attribute it to. And all these are ways that pixels undervalue their own impact. And you could see that, it's really a portion of all the impact that we want to capture. But we also see that they overvalue some of the time. So why does this happen? Well, 53% of sales are claimed by multiple platforms. So Google, Facebook, they both see the conversion. They both claim 100% of it. And then we have 39% of sales would have happened anyway, so they're not incremental. And this is 80% for bottom of funnel. So this means that if you maybe you email your list, somebody sees and is 20% promotion, clicks on it, buys. If that person happened to see your ad on Instagram early in the day as they were scrolling, even if they didn't even notice it, Instagram is still going to take credit for that. Or if somebody's searching for your brand on Google, and they would have clicked on the organic listing anyway, they still take credit for that. So as we see, there's a lot more red than there is green. And for that reason, platforms like Google, TikTok, Meta are essentially saying that they're recognizing the limitations of their own pixels. And they're advocating for a unified marketing measurement framework that essentially is based on three pillars. One of them is modeling or media mix modeling. The other one is experiments or lift or geo-lift experiments. And the final one is attribution. So they all have different names for it. So Google calls it marketing effectiveness measurement. TikTok calls it holistic measurement. Facebook calls it measurements 360. We call it True North. Regardless of the name, it's the exact same framework. And the idea is that we have three different tools to measure performance, and each one measures a different aspect of it. So in the same way that we couldn't say that a ruler is any better or worse than a scale, they just measure different things. One measures distance, the other one measures weight. When it comes to digital measurement, all these have a place in the tool set. So at the bottom here, we have attribution, which is the only one of the three that happens on a user level. So these two at the top, media mix modeling, incrementality experiments, we're aggregating data. We're looking at trends between how much we're spending, how much that's making us back, without really trying to identify the individual customers who purchased. With attribution, we actually do that. So what we do is essentially using first-party tracking, which allows us to track 72% more activity and conversions than the third-party pixels. We use our own measurement for tracking, and we unify all the data and then stream it back to the individual platforms. So we can build cross-platform audiences. So based on what somebody did on Facebook and TikTok, target them on Google, which you just couldn't do natively with any of these platforms. But it also allows you to build the single view of the customer journey across all different platforms and all different devices. Then with media mix modeling, essentially, we are using a statistical method called causal inferencing that helps us figure out what is actually driving our sales. So we can see the contribution by every channel, tactic, and campaign to our total revenue. What percentage of each of all our revenue each one represents. We can see the return on investment for each media, and we get individual recommendations. So what to scale up, what to scale down, by how much, and how much additional profit we can expect from each of these optimizations. Then we have incrementality experiments where they're essentially an A/B test where, all other things being equal, same products, same prices, same promotions, same exposure to social media posts and everything else. The only difference being that for some geographical states, we either pause a campaign. As we see here, this is called a holdout experiment. So we pause it and we see how much sales drop, and we therefore measure the lift. Or we can do a scale up where for those states that the experiment designed for, we increase the spend by a certain amount and we see how much it increases for those states compared to the other states. So it's, if you're familiar with landing page A/B testing, is pretty much like that, where you send random traffic to these two pages, and you figure out how one group, which is a treatment group, compares to the control group. And it's really important when we look at unified measurement to understand that the idea is not for all these to just come up with one number that's absolutely the source of truth. Instead, it's working and triangulating among all three to make the most out of it. So the way it works is media mix modeling will tell you what the ROI for a given channel or tactic might be. So say, for example, Facebook, new customers, top of funnel, real ads has an ROI of 4. Now, if from the
Sorry, Zeke. Got the time is ticking on here. We only had 10 minutes.
Okay.
But yeah, sorry to interrupt.
It's okay. So we use that to essentially adjust our what the platform is telling us, and everything in that category will be adjusted appropriately. And then we use experiments to test the hypothesis from our modeling, and our model then our test then help us calibrate our models. So all these work in combined, and the idea is that by having a 360 view of our performance, we are going to get the best results possible. I invite you to I understand that this is probably a deeper topic than most, so I invite you to connect on LinkedIn. Happy to answer any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Zeke. Yeah, that was awesome. Sorry to interrupt you there. But yeah, to everyone listening, definitely probably more of a conversation that needs to be had, and more like information as well, that I think sellers should definitely hop on that. So really appreciate the talk. Next, I think we have Sophie.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Sophie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone.
Hi, Peter.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having us. Really honored.
Awesome. Really appreciate you popping on.
Yeah, let me quickly share my screen here. Sorry.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Yep. Go back to here. Is it working?
Yep.
Awesome.
Awesome. I will kick us off. Hey everybody, I'm Peter, and we also have Sophie. We both do partnerships and business development for Shopline. So Shopline, super exciting. This is an e-commerce solution that is unified and pretty wide and robust in terms of features and platform capabilities. So we've been around since 2013. So we just celebrated our 12-year anniversary just last month. So that's super exciting. We have a parent company headquartered in Singapore. And essentially, we're a SaaS company that online sellers use to build their website. So think of us as, one of the main competitors to Shopify, Magento, WooCommerce, some of the other solutions that brands might use to build out their website. So to move on, to tell you a little bit more about kind of our history and where we come from, we started out in 2013 with some funding from Silicon Valley startups, and then we became one of the first partners with Google in China, where we originally started was Hong Kong and mainland China area. Quickly grew to 100,000 merchants, locked in some major partnerships with Google and Facebook. We are also in the 500 Global Startups program. Then a little bit later, we got recognized in Asia for being a fast growing company. And then that's when we got acquired by our parent company called Joy, who is headquartered in Singapore. And we started a global expansion. And so that's when we entered Australia, United Kingdom, Japan, and now United States as well. And then we also locked in TikTok and some other partnerships. So moving on to give you a little bit, numbers, like how big are we and like what are we doing? So We have over 600,000 merchants around the world using the Shopline platform to operate their DTC websites. We have over 2,000 employees worldwide supporting the company with offices in London, US, Malaysia, UK, Australia, all the different markets we're in. And then certified partners, we have over 500 partners. That's across agency partners, tech partners, software implementation partners, affiliate partners, and more. So moving on, we can start looking at a little bit about the product. And Sophie will take over here to tell you guys a little bit about the platform and what merchants can do using our tech.
Sure. This is Sophie, and I'm the head of BD and Partnership Manager at Shopline. Again, thanks, Peter, for giving you a quick introduction of Shopline. I will continue working on explaining how Shopline empowers merchants in terms of to scale globally with unified commerce. I will touch a little bit on the differences between e-commerce platform and e-commerce SaaS. First, regulations. E-commerce platforms like Amazon, eBay establish their own rules within the platform that merchants must adhere to. In contrast, SaaS is not bound by these regulations, give merchants full autonomy over operational rules, and merchants simply having access mainly to sales data on e-commerce platform and have to, be burdened with high fees and face intense price competition for similar products. In converse, in e-commerce SaaS, merchants hold intellectual property and ownership rights over all data, enabling effective management of all product sales and incur very minimal platform fees of less than 1%. And in terms of traffic data, e-commerce platform control traffic allocation, while in e-commerce SaaS, merchants can leverage a broader range of public domain traffic channels and cultivate their own proprietary traffic, retain user data for remarketing to customers, and foster purchase loyalty and optimize their product pricing strategy. So outlining these differences here doesn't mean that we're trying to persuade brands choosing one sales channels over another. And just trying to echo Andrew's point earlier, we are actually encouraging brands to build an omni-channel solution. So at Shopline, to construct the unified commerce platform, we actually primarily deployed 3 strategies: multi-channel, partner portal, and customer relationship management. Multi-channel means that we have achieved seamless integrations across brand web store, online shops, retail POS systems, and mobile apps. Additionally, we have actively expanding marketplaces and trying to collaborate with various sales channels, broadening merchant sales network. To enable these features, we have integrated multiple API interfaces to ensure data circulation and sharing. The next strategy will be the natively designed and developed core products. So we possess a robust product inventory order management system, fulfillment services, as well as high conversion checkout functionality. And the very last strategy would be the Shopline has been dedicated to build a customer data platform, further integrating customer data, providing support for precise marketing and personalized services. Because we believe possessing a unified customer profile will allow more accurate customer segmentations in order to do marketing automation, which in turn will increase membership and drive loyalty. In practical cases, we found utilizing our marketing all-in-one tool can effectively boost conversion rates without changing traffic levels. And it has been served as a core competitive strength of ours. Our unified retail platform consists 7 fundamental product features from store setup, order, product, client, sales channel, marketing management, as well as data analytics. So these are designed to create efficient SaaS solutions that meet the needs of any independent business model. Our goal is to consolidate user behavior data and transaction data from a variety of sales channels to build a platform for merchants to manage the data more centrally and the user lifecycle more effectively. So at Shopline, merchants' online store serves as the primary sales channel. However, they can still manage sales channels on social media platforms such as Facebook, Google, TikTok, live streams, etc., and all from the Shopline backend. So these can further assist sellers, enhancing their overall store management and driving an increasing GMV and improve their ROI conversions. So at Shopline, we consider every keynote of the consumer online transaction process and try to achieve excellence in details from store visits, product browsing, item selection, adding to cart, payment, and logistic functions. So these solutions cover brand from site building, offsite attraction, onsite operation, and even after sales to ensure that merchants can get a more converting brand store with less effort. For SMB merchants, they can quickly set up a very attractive and highly flexible online store within 30 minutes, and they can solve traffic issues and improve internal conversions through conceptual consumer experience and enhance the overall efficiency through centralized management of multiple stores. Moreover, so at Shopline, whether you are SMB merchants, key account, or enterprise, you will all receive a one-on-one service to resolve common usage issues and personalize the solutions for more advanced technical problems. Shopline also offers another two core products, payment and logistics. Shopline Payment is a solution independently developed by Shopline, offering global payment acceptance in cross-border settlements for merchants. So it supports major credit cards such as Visa, Master, American Express, and multiple local payment methods. So it provides very competitive service fees across various regions. And as a payment product, security is paramount. So we are a PCI DSS certified payment service provider, ensuring the highest level of security for merchants' funds. Shopline Payment is also a Visa and MasterCard approved payment facilitator, and we have payment licenses in many countries. And we also partner with a lot of reputable channel partners to support the merchants around the world. Another essential component is logistic. Shopline has selected very top-notch logistics service providers from various local markets to help merchants further reduce cost, improve efficiency, and ensure timeless logistics using a platform-based approach. So the logistics actually contain two parts, one ship and one warehouse. One ship integrates with nearly 100 service providers covering markets in Europe, America, Southeast Asia. So basically allowing merchants to quickly match right service providers and enabling merchants to benefit from more competitive pricing through horizontal comparison and enhancing their work efficiency using batch order management. And one warehouse essentially integrates warehouses from regions such as Hong Kong, Taiwan, Europe, America, and Southeast Asia. So it connects store backend with various logistic APIs for unified multiple system management. So to facilitate inventory management, order fulfillment, and others. So Shopline has a very reliable and high quality strategic partner who work with us to provide meticulous services to merchants. And we continually trying to build and foster new partnerships. Like Peter mentioned, beside the existing partnership, we are actively looking for agency partner, affiliate partners, and technology partners. So for agency partners, they can be marketing experts, site build experts, trying to help our merchants, providing full funnel support. And for affiliate partners, they can be creators, influencers, and consultants who wants to refer merchants to our platform. And through our affiliate portal, they can track and earn bonuses. And for the technology partners, basically, although within the Shopline ecosystem, the core products are all internally developed, but we're still considering and evaluating some third-party apps, payment tools, ERPs, and logistics solutions that merchants prefer. So if technology partners can provide those applications, we're very welcome. They can be plugged into our platform via our open API and get promoted from our platform. So we're continually evolving products, services, and expanding global business, and look forward to any type of conversations and collaborations.
Awesome. And just to add just a little bit more, I don't know, Mark, do we have another minute or two?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Cool. I just want to talk about some of our existing partnerships, just so some people are aware of kind of some of the things we have going on. So in the US, we're partnered up with XRC Ventures and Plug and Play Tech Center. Both of those are very large, highly respected accelerator VC type programs. And then we're also an LP in a CPG fund with another VC. So we have a lot of really great, kind of brand acquisition partnership programs that are tied to like very real systematic support from some of the most, highly, respected accelerators, in the country and even the world. So besides that, I want to just talk about some of the benefits that our platform, now that you know a little bit about the product from Sophie's fantastic presentation, what does all this boil down to? Right, and to just address the elephant in the room. I know all of you guys know Shopify and you're pretty familiar with Shopify and you're probably still wondering, what exactly is the difference? Why is Shopline even better, or why should I even consider? So just to boil them down like very simply, one of the main ones is lower total cost of ownership, like Sophie mentioned, and that's going to come from three channels. What is your subscription to the platform itself? So if you're using Shopify Plus, you're probably paying $2,000 a month or more. And then your credit card processing. That's another leg of total cost of ownership. Now, the third leg of total cost of ownership is the full stack of apps and plugins that you're using for your DTC website operation. So when we look at the platform subscription, the credit card processing, and all the apps that you need to run the website with the experience that you want, on Shopline, brands are able to have that set up anywhere from 25 up to 50% lower total cost of ownership. And that's a huge plus for a lot of brands. And I think just the last one that I want to mention is that since Shopline has taken the time to develop its own set of first-party native apps, a lot of those apps are bundled in with the main platform subscription. So when you're using Shopline, you have a healthy app store full of first-party native apps built by Shopline, completely free, that you can use to get a very high quality, high functional set of features and uses for your website. So that's a huge advantage. And just because we made our own apps, there's a lot of other benefits that come through with that. First is ease of use, right? Because it's all the same data architecture, it's built by the platform, same as the developer, as the app. Everything connects and plugs in just way easier. So whether you're setting up your website yourself or whether you're an agency, using the platform and the app made by the same people, it's going to be more convenient. Next is the data synchronization. Because our apps are made by our own platform, right? These apps are not separate companies like they are on Shopify. And when you are a separate company, you have to follow the privacy protection laws. And so even though a lot of your apps connect to your Shopify store, you would believe that 100% of your data that lives in all these different apps just funnels down and flows through your whole ecosystem, but it's not how it works. And actually on Shopify, it works a little bit better because we have our first party native apps. So I'll stop there. I just wanted to add a little bit of meat on the bone.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Awesome software. Love it. yeah, I'd love to chat further about that. Okay, so next up we got Dan. Dan, there you are.
Thank you, Mark. Making sure, can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes. Yeah.
That sounds like a no.
Yes, I can see
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, perfect. I will do my best to make this quick. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks
I'm
for
with
coming.
NetRush. I don't know how many of you know NetRush, but we've actually been around. We're operating on Amazon for about 20 years, one of the original players in that space. We operate 3 distinct businesses. So managing advertising for people or managing full retail for people, we work on about $2 billion of Amazon sales a year across a couple hundred partners. We have a Solozo advertising platform, ad automation, bid optimization that runs about $250 million through it every year. And we also operate an agile logistics facility that moves about 5 million products every year, whether that's to Amazon FBA, to consumers in FBM, through D2C or B2B. You can leave your products in one place and we'll move them around for you through our systems. I have not been with NetRush for all 20 years. I've spent about 30 years in consumer goods, and I was an early adapter to NetRush and as NetRush customer, so I've become a big fan of the company. And now as COO, tying in with what Mark said earlier on, and I have lost my ability to change slides. There we go. I live for systems and strategies around about maximizing profits. So my job is to, create systems and create environments where people can operate well, both my teams and our brands. And with that, I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I'm going to share 3 principles that we utilize at NetRush across all of our divisions to help kind of create consistent growth in an inconsistent environment. I think we'd all agree that Amazon and e-commerce in general are in fact inconsistent environments. So with that, I'm going to start with the first principle, and it's quite simply know exactly what you are solving for. And to do this, as I said, I've been in consumer goods for 30 years or in commerce, but I would argue that throughout the history of commerce, distribution has been a major barrier to growth. Answering the question of how do we get our product or goods in someone else's hands has been true when we were putting it on horseback and camelback and on ships. And then as we've built out malls and stores and bazaars, it's always been a challenge for how we get products in people's hands. But more recently, Amazon has built what I would argue is the world's largest flea market or bazaar, and they've solved a lot of our distribution problems. And whether that's Amazon or Shopify or Shopline or other e-commerce providers, as a brand or as a seller, it's much easier for us to get a product in a customer's hands if they're looking for it, if they have demand for that. And so when we talk about growth, this was a game changer in Amazon for a lot of people who've been online for a number of years. There was a stretch where growth was pretty easy and pretty profitable. People could finally find your product. They could get their hands on it if you didn't have brick and mortar distribution. And Amazon was subsidizing the growth there, so you were probably making money while you're doing it. Now, as we look about growth and when we look across our portfolio of our brands, one of the first questions we try to ask people is, what exactly are you solving for? On the growth side, if you want to grow sales, that's pretty common. Most of our brands do want to do that, right? You're talking about, are you capturing demand? I think Amazon has created arguably the greatest demand capture platform the world has ever seen. If I'm looking for a product, I can probably find it. I can probably get it with a click and in my hands in a few hours to a few days. So at the base level, however, managing this demand requires different strategies. If we're talking about capturing demand at the product or brand level, that's one thing. What if we're going to target competitors? Yep, I think I think my product is better than what they do. I want to go target them, or even more so at a category level, right? Maybe you don't know my brand, but I know this need exists. We have to tailor our strategies towards each of those. And even more so, and I love that Andrew went earlier because he talked about something that's near and dear to my heart, is sometimes we have to create demand. Amazon may not be the best place to do that. We might want to create demand off Amazon and drive it there. each one of these cases, if we don't know what we're clear about, the strategy we're using may or may not operate towards that. So when we work with partners, we really want to make sure that we're getting very precise on where they are in their life cycle. We have people who are doing nothing more very effectively targeting existing demand, whether they created it themselves or it's existed for a long time. And we have some people that are now using, actually, our founders at a different conference right now talking about how we leverage using TikTok to build demand and then also drive it back to Amazon. So can be different opportunities there. On the profit side, I think this is near and dear to everyone's heart, and a number of people talked about it. I love, Mark, what you said earlier about, the 1% add up. We firmly believe that's the case, right? Amazon fees are growing every year. In addition to fees, it's not just profit margins, it's also the cash flow. Delayed reimbursements are a real issue. Extension of processing time in Amazon DCs if you're shipping FBA becomes a problem. And I'm going to talk about the advertising a little bit different because this is something I think about in a long time when we think about margin erosion. Over the last 5 years, Amazon's global ad revenue has increased 5x. The amount of products on the platform hasn't doubled. We are spending much more per product to advertise. And whether we're talking about what Vincenzo was talking about, and I believe Andrew after me is going to talk about advertising, it is going to be a more complex environment. So again, the more precise we can be when we operate, the more effective we can be in growing. The second principle I'm going to focus on is being aware of your surroundings. And I mentioned before that Amazon and e-commerce are an inconsistent environment. And the reason I think that's important is that a good decision made under one set of circumstances may not be good under the next set of circumstances or as circumstances change. Amazon changes every day, right? Itself, the algorithm changes, they change policies, they change features, they add new features. Competitors change the environment because we're operating in a marketplace environment, so they can change their listings, their targeting, pricing, cost per click, your advertising efficiency, all those can be changing. Much less, as we've seen talking about earlier when Mark was talking about tariffs, the economics of countries and regions, the policies can change how we're operating. So in order to operate effectively and consistently grow, we need to be ever vigilant and operate and understanding what's happening in our surroundings. But there's a flip side to that as we do that, we need to make sure we're pulling the right levers at the right time. And what I mean by that is Amazon is a very easy environment to react. There is a ton of data available to us. There's more data available every day. We may or may not even know what it all means, and there are very few barriers to making changes, right? We can go in, we can toggle a different feature, we can adjust a bid, we can change our content in many cases. We can change a listing, we can change a title. Because of that, because it's a very easy place to react, we also have to be aware that reacting leaves us very vulnerable to cognitive bias, right? Maybe we're just making a quick decision. Maybe we've got recency bias. Maybe we're being too optimistic or pessimistic. And what I want to talk about briefly about one of the ways that we operate across all of our business units, and I think it's key for anyone who wants to consistently grow in the current economy, in the current e-commerce marketplace, is a way that we operate in a structure that allows us to be ever vigilant to what's going on in the changing conditions, but also to make sure that we're not rushing to decisions. And the way we try to operate is in this simple image. And the first thing we do is on a daily basis, we are committing to our strategies, because if we're not committed to the strategy, we will not know if it works. You can do this through checklists, through alerts and notifications, and many of the tools that you've seen today, and our Solozo tool is an example. Also using AI and machine learning to make sure we're optimizing. But every day we need to be vigilant. That does not necessarily mean jumping to action, because we may not exactly know what we're seeing yet, right? And Zeke, I can't see Zeke on my screen right now, but I love what he talked about the quality of the information that we're getting in there. The next thing that we do religiously across all of our business units is we measure. And not just the top line sales, right? It's not just a top line sales or an on-coast, but really understanding what our underlying variables are. We have a growth formula we use to understand how the different measures affect each other. And we do it across our portfolio together. And the reason we do that is all of us are smarter than one of us, and we want to start identifying when we see outliers in the data or changes. Now, again, at that point, we're looking to understand those changes, not necessarily jump to them. So typically on a monthly basis, although if we see a larger data point, it might be quicker, sometimes almost instantaneously, we're going to be convening to understand, is this changes that we're seeing a blip or a trend? Is it something we need to react to, or is just the API acting funny for that day? Or we're going to test and learn. Being able to operate with close to 300 different partners, we get to test and learn a lot of different strategies, whether it's content or advertising scenarios, deal flows, bidding strategies. And then sometimes it's just really digging deeper as we see a change. We're seeing a lot of changes in the way Amazon operates. We'll continue to making sure that we can do those things, which then means on a quarterly basis, whether we're looking at your shipping providers in a logistics facility or your campaign structure in Solozo, or how we're operating in a retail or a new product launch, we're looking to update our strategies on a consistent measured basis. And that means auditing for all of our partners, their results, but also the changes in conditions, internally auditing our benchmarks, making sure we understand what we see in the marketplace. And Vincenzo talked earlier, and I love that about, conversion is not an absolute. It can depend across category. It can depend across category types. So the longer we operate, the more we learn about that. And then making sure that we adapt. All right. So I think I'm not going to make a sales plea today. If anyone wants to talk more about this, I'd love to. I'm passionate about it. I'm available on LinkedIn. I'm available on the NetRush website or via email. But I will ask as you're looking to leverage or work with anyone who's been speaking today, because what I'm talking about, I think aligns with what everybody's talking about, is make sure as we see these dramatic changes, and we're not done. I think I just got another news alert about potential tariff changes. I'm not sure. I was trying to pay attention and not skim. But I think there are 3 non-negotiables for consistent growth. Know exactly what you're solving for. It doesn't work anymore that we can just guess at it. We have to be very, very precise in what we're solving for, because it's not going to be as easy as it used to be. We've solved for a lot of the problems that Amazon and e-commerce removed barriers for 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Be aware of your surroundings. Be ever vigilant, because the marketplace is changing day by day, hour by hour. And then finally, put yourself in a position to pull the right strings, the right levers at the right time. Let's seek to understand before we seek to take action. Mark, thanks for having me. This was great. And I think I made it under 10 minutes. I tried really hard. So
it's hard. 10 minutes is hard. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like I've been on Amazon since 2012, and man, back then you didn't have to worry about profit because it was always there.
Exactly.
You didn't have to do much, just there it was. But yeah, now it's definitely harder. So like everyone who's speaking today is has been in the game for some time, and we were there in the heyday, and it's knowing what it is like and doing the things now to make sure that you get the margins. It's important. So that's why we do these webinars. But yeah, I really appreciate it, Dan. Thank you. All right, next we got Sebastian.
Hey guys, see my screen, hear me?
Yep, thanks, Sebastian.
Yeah, I know the pain, buddy. I've been there 2013. It was a very different game.
I know.
Hey guys, this is
top
Sebastian
sheet.
Edward. I'm an Amazon seller since 2013, and I've been running Insider since 2020. We approach ad management manually and solve for net profit. This is a callback to Dan's presentation, instead of just using software automation for okayish results. Our team is 15 strong right here with me in the EU, and we're currently serving 18 Amazon sellers over 32 brands. We've spent over 65 million in advertising so far, and generating the total of a bit over $500 million for our clients, but more about us and our clients at insiders.agency. Now, today we're going to talk about and evaluate something that it's very important facing most Amazon sellers, whether they're aware of it or not. Can you please guys confirm seeing my presentation again?
Yeah, we can see.
Yep, we can see.
Yeah. All right. So today we're going to talk about breaking free for Amazon ads automation myths. So I'll cut through the noise and give you the real story from someone who's been in the trenches for over a decade. Here's what we're covering in the next 10 minutes. The advantage and limitation of manual ads management, why software automation appeals to so many sellers and where it falls short, my recommendations for different business stages, and the purpose here isn't the point to drive you in a direction, but just to clarify what are the pros and cons of each approach so you can make an informed decision. So let's dive into both approaches. First of all, we're gonna talk about the manual pros. KPIs in your campaign management aren't just the starting point. You can should also absolutely use every single Amazon data point in your ad strategy. An expert looks at competitor pricing, listing, and ad-created CTR, conversion, or organic and sponsor ranks, BSR, SFR, per keyword trend, data, deals, etc., right? So in here in troubleshooting, we're going to talk about something that's very important. 90% of PPC performance issues are not caused by PPC actions, but by not following external factors. Software doesn't check if your BSR dropped due to inventory issues or if Amazon changed your main image. Experienced manual managers do. Since all account actions were done by you recently, when a problem comes, you just troubleshoot the lightning speed and usually find the solution instantly. Software, well, good luck. You're gonna submit a case, they're gonna sift through thousands of lines of code. And the fun part is the problem isn't in the code, it's in the marketplace. Here, the difference becomes quite crucial. So when a keyword underperforms, software usually cuts or pauses it, while manual asks, why isn't this working? And brainstorms. A main or relevant keyword directly represents a market share you now have access to. Once you cut it, you permanently surrender your traffic to competitors. Through Amazon optimization, you can just fine-tune your approach towards such assets. And for instance, you can find the minimum viable bid right before it stops getting clicks. This way, you can both support the organic rank while also protecting your performance. We actually use more software than software does, which is a fun one, but true. We used more than 10 tools at Insiders for monitor competitors, deals, rank tracking, and act preemptively on seasonal data patterns. I'll give you an example here. Last Q4, the traffic pattern was very, very similar year over year, right? So if the traffic in 2023, November 25, started one year prior, there is a high chance that this year it will be similar. By tracking this, you can raise your bids and budgets in advance to take advantage of that traffic. This way, your ranks are going to increase instantly. And by the time software adjusts, you're already set to take advantage of this entire event. Every PPC decision ripples into the long-term brand performance. Manual manager with selling experience have a holistic understanding of how every PPC actions impacts overall brand performance. I'll give you an example from Insiders. We keep main keywords at above market average ACOS. Why? Because that supports organic ranking that drives organic sales. Understanding this, you now know why most brands we manage, the 55% ACOS keywords are their most profitable and not the 20% one that just look good on advertising dashboards. So right now, let's talk also about some recent study that showed that intelligent automation can reduce ACOS by 20 to 25% and increase advertising sales by 80 to 200%. A bit much if you ask me, but here's the catch. These metrics don't tell the whole story. When we look at net profit impact, the picture becomes a bit more nuanced. So for many sellers, software costs significantly less than hiring an experienced PPC manager or an agency, right? A $400 tool versus more than $2,000 per monthly management fee makes it instantly appealing. Softwares excel at managing massive catalogs efficiently, right? Tasks that would take manual managers hours, like processing thousands of keywords, happen like this. Software doesn't get tired, doesn't need vacation, doesn't have bad days. It just applies rules constantly. Speed here has a genuine advantage. For example, in search term negation, there is a classic example where software pauses search term faster than any human could. But if your Amazon PPC knowledge is limited, any of the top 5 tools out there will outperform your manual work. The algorithms already incorporate best practices that inexperienced managers just might miss. AI tools can now analyze patterns across thousands of data points simultaneously that humans might miss, right? So guys, these are software advantages that are legitimate and explain why software grew so much in the past years. But At the same time, there are trade-offs. Let's go into the manual ones. Manual speed limitations are super real, especially for large catalogs. When you adjust hundreds of keywords simultaneously, humans just bottleneck. Experienced account managers burn out in our company around 25 to 50 products in-depth managed per month. Manual management is also expensive and very time intensive. If you're doing it yourself in depth, you move away from growing the business to working in the business. Or if you hire an agency, expect the premium prices for the work, right? Still worth it, but usually for high revenue brands where precision can have an impact directly on your P&L. Now, people make mistakes. Think decimal points, incorrect bid updates, forgot to optimize, sir, and so on and so forth. A professional should have like 2-3 layers of monitoring to mitigate such errors. For instance, at Insiders, we have 4: CEO, team leader, account manager, and business assistant. Manually managing thousands of campaigns requires significant human resources. And for small brands, that cost isn't just worth it, right? The quality of management directly correlates with your expertise and selling experience. So software tends to outperform inexperienced manual manager. These manual limitations are real and significant, but at the same time, software has fundamental limitations that become apparent once you dig a bit more into performance outcomes. Software optimization is limited by the knowledge and experience of whoever built the algorithm. If the creators lack deep selling experience, the software inherits those blind spots. Most automation tools offer just limited customization options. Your unique business circumstances, profit margins, strategic goals, all get squeezed into a generic optimization formula. This one is quite critical in my opinion. Software typically uses percentage-based bid adjustments without considering standard deviation, keyword context, and more importantly, market dynamics. I'll give you a simple example here. Say Monday morning, your sales suddenly drop and ACOs go through the roof, right? Software might increase the bid to maintain sales, or if the rule is such, just pause the keyword for pause performance. But a manual in-depth analysis could reveal that your main competitor just launched, let's say, a 7-day deal at a 30% lower pricing, and now instantly your offer is unattractive to shoppers. Therefore, the optimal action would be to lower the bids and the budgets and protect yourself from the lower converting spend. Next up would be to check when your competitor started the deal and end, so you can set up an alarm to restore competitive bids. Software applies fixed bid threshold formulas, something like if ACO is bigger than X, then decrease bid by Y, but doesn't consider context when making this change. Say there's a new competitor on the niche in launch mode. You don't want to fight with that launch budget, right? While software is faster, speed isn't the ultimate metric, in my opinion. Net profit is. What's the last time, for example, that your PPC software requested access to your P&L? When a potential buyer evaluates your business, they examine EBITDA, net profit, not how quick you optimize your bids, right? So guys, I want to go into a bit of conclusion and recommendations here. So after managing tens of millions of dollars in ad spend and seeing both approaches in action, here are my recommendations. For new sellers and brands under 1 million per year, educate yourself first and then start with the quality automation software. A standard semi-automatic setup performs well enough for now. Your time should be focused on product development, inventory management, and anything else that could drive your business. For experienced sellers or brands over 1 million per year, implement a full manual optimization for the most optimal PPC setup for your own brand stage. And more importantly, and this is where I see sellers smiling, towards the ultimate goal, which is net profit. This is where, for instance, a 7-figure brand can transform into an 8-figure business in the span of a few quarters. There's also a middle ground here for brands with a high volume of SKUs, right? I would recommend something we at Insiders call the crown jewel approach, which is using bulk optimization or a software for the bottom 80% products that just bring in like 20% of revenue, while manually managing your top hero ASINs where the return justifies your effort. Now, guys, my final recommendation here is that Amazon ads are an investment, not a cost. Don't calculate that software costs you $400 and an experienced PPC manager costs you $2,000. The value of a great PPC partner is seen at the bottom of your P&L, not in the amount of the monthly invoice. This is a very important one. So guys, in ending this, I would say that we're already in something that I call the gap, where AI software accumulates data, slowly builds situational awareness through machine learning and reasoning. And the gap between people like me with more than a decade in the market and a new seller is very small every single day. So if you want to exploit this gap together while it lasts, scan this QR code right here and let's make refreshing that seller app exciting again. Guys, I've been Sebastian Edward with Insiders, and this has been the Break Free from Amazon Ads Automation Myths for you. Hope it brings value. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sebastian. That was awesome. I really appreciate it. And Joseph, we got you up.
Let's do it. Thank you guys for having me. Mark, Sophie, gentlemen, thank you. Learned a lot. This was actually really great. I think I have a really cool privilege to be the last person being able to incorporate a bunch of what I just learned into my presentation. And I feel like we've highlighted a lot of main points, your bottom line, becoming profitable, diversifying ad spend, understanding what levels you're able to pull. So again, I appreciate it. My name is Joe. I'm here out of Toronto. I work at Carbon 6. A little bit of my story. I started in Amazon in 2016. Started around the arbitrage model, got into a little bit of private label. Today, I manage a team, or I lead a team of like 15 really incredible people that interact, work with brands, agencies, aggregators around the world, mostly in the Amazon and Walmart space. And a really cool part of what I do every day is being here is to see what actually makes it happen on Amazon, like what real brands are doing to make money and grow, and not just like a fake video, but really impactful of what's actually happening. So again, appreciate the time. Today, we're going to go over external traffic and revenue recovery. Those are the two things I spend most of my time in. External traffic, more about like what Andrew was saying, omni-channel, diversify, find where you can really expand. And then on the cost recovery, kind of to what Dan was saying, like where are you showing value and what levers can you pull to actually bring that bottom line in the right place. So currently the market landscape, and this is in Amazon, most people live here on the right. Amazon PPC directed to your PDP, looking for an add to cart, a page view, or a purchase. As you grow, you get into affiliate marketing here in the top left, start sending affiliate links and influencers over to your PDP. The next level of growth, we see Amazon brands do Amazon DSP, and they're programmatic. And where I want to sit and talk about today is that external landscape, running advertisements from places like Google, Meta, and TikTok to your Amazon listing, PDP, or storefront to gain some advantages. So why does external traffic matter? Driving external traffic from social media influencers help increase organic rank. We saw that echoed through the SEO conversation earlier. And I love to saw that. I love to see that omni-channel, like we saw, is growing. Amazon wants to keep buyers on Amazon rather than going to TikTok, Shopify, a whole different set of places, Walmart. And Amazon, again, wants to keep those customers. So they are rewarding that external traffic in order to do so. Amazon invests in external traffic, and so should you. So Amazon created Amazon Attribution. We spoke about that earlier, that 10% brand referral bonus for brands in the US. We look at it as them subsidizing your ad spend on Google, on Meta, in order to drive that traffic on it. We know Amazon thinks of the customer like their own customer. So when you are bringing a potential new buyer to your brand, you're not only introducing them to you, but Amazon as a whole. Just a little bit of numbers. Amazon 2018, $273 million spent in Google ads. And in 2022, it was $10.8 billion. I didn't update my slide, but saw a really cool post on LinkedIn today saying Amazon just dropped all 100% of their Google shopping ad spend to go over to what they are now having. Google is AI Max ads. So super exciting, looking to learn a lot about what they're doing there so we can incorporate it over here. So what is PixelMe? PixelMe is a leading industry platform, patented technology. We have Google AI automations, AI integration, some retargeting. And so why is it important? Why is external traffic important? Why should you guys be doing it? A few things. Amazon thought it would be super important. So Pixelme got the pleasure of being the first embedded third-party app in Seller Central. So if you run Google or Meta ads within the Pixelme platform, you'll be able to actually download that app into Seller Central and see how it's affecting not only your organic sales, but what's happening all in one place. So just a little bit about what Pixelme is. It sits in the middle between paid media platforms, Amazon. What we do, create advertising inside of our platform. It then creates those Amazon attribution campaign IDs. The campaigns search or branded in Google. And what we do using Amazon attribution, 14-day last click attribution model, as well as tracking templates, bifurcating links, and setting up correct conversion goals in the appropriate advertisement platforms, we're able to then send the correct signals when a purchase happens on Amazon to Google and to Meta for them to start optimizing for a conversion rather than a click. So I know we spoke earlier, and I believe it was Andrew talking about SEO and how to potentially draw more people to your Amazon listing using like a max click Google campaign. With Pixelme, you're actually able to use the max conversion model and connect those two, start drawing purchasers from Amazon and feeding that data into Google. Now, just a few things, and I think this hits on Dan's point. It's like, what are you solving for? What works? What doesn't work? I always like to say advertisements don't sell bad products. They just put the products in front of the right people to purchase. So things that just anecdotally, things that when I do data pulls, what doesn't work, things with less than 3.4 stars, things that are shoppable, that if I were to buy a ring for my girlfriend and she didn't like it, it wouldn't be a good day for me, and I'd probably return that product. So things that you have to think about, there's a color variation. Those aren't typically the best for advertising externally, but what does work, really good products, something that has a high need. If someone's looking for a hammer with a very specific competitive advantage and you're advertising for it, they will purchase from that advertisement. We like higher priced products as they take more advantage of the 10% of Amazon's brand referral bonus. For lower priced products, we like to see how the impact in external ranking or external traffic does on organic ranking. Some historics that we've done really well on: supplement, cosmetic, proteins, things with a high LTV and a cost of customer acquisition associated. And then just going on, you can use branded because you're off of Amazon. If you aren't running a direct-to-consumer website, you want to take advantage of some of those branded searches from Google and Meta over to Amazon. Next, a few things again, and this will definitely hit on Sebastian's point. Like, I could talk automations all day. Automations or advertising is a little bit of human and a little bit of automation. You need the balance of tools and humans, expertise, and a real person looking at it, making that judgment. So I'm not going to spend too much time here. If you ever want to nerd out on automations, please let me know. Looking how to grow this portion of the tool as well. Retargeting a little bit, Zeke touched on it. Look, pixels are a thing that need to be worked on. Actively looking to involve multi-touch and different attribution systems. But without a doubt, bang for your buck, retargeting ads are the most profitable one-to-one returns. So within Pixelme, we're able to then use retargeting to, after showing a person on Google or on Meta your advertisement and they click on Facebook, you can, or on Amazon, you can then retarget them to your direct consumer website after you've acquired that data. Let's talk a little bit of revenue recovery. I want to be quick on this one. I think this one's a no-brainer. There's tons of people that do this, super valuable in the industry. Something a little bit about Carbon 6 and our Seller Investigators tool. To my team, I think the main thing I echo is transparency, transparency, transparency. It's like what you want to be able to do and show to brands and aggregators to be able to have them believe in a solution that you're providing. We like to say we are the most industry transparent. And one thing, Amazon, like others were saying, is consistently changing. So finding out just what's happening in the changes in Amazon is a job in itself. And then putting those changes and requirements into action is something else. So we like to be as completely Amazon TOS compliant. Just a few things. We have itemized case logs. So when we're doing a reimbursement for someone, you would go into our platform, be able to click in, and it will take you to your Amazon Seller Central to lead you to see exactly what we are recovering. So more money back in less time. What we do, and I'm sure this is standard practice across all the board, whether you're doing it in-house, you have another third-party company doing it, it's an audit. It's always beneficial to have another auditor audit the current team that's doing it, making sure all eyes are doing well. And look, if your team is on the ball and they're doing well, amazing. Now you know what's happening in your business. And if not, you gain a little bit more insight. Another thing with this type of tool is it's a pay once we've done the work. So we only take money after successfully putting dollars back in your Amazon Seller Central. So that's always a benefit to be able to show some value before asking anyone for any dollar amount. And then this is the last thing. Like, this is where I live every day. It's all about like the people that we have here, the experts. Like, this is where you're going to gain the most value, talking to the people, giving them a phone call, getting on a meeting with them, understanding where they can bring value to your business. So I think that's what we do really well. The team here, just across the board, if you need something highly responsive, highly engaging, and typically want to learn more about the business and e-commerce in general. So if you need anything, please reach out. And just a few case studies. Here are a few brands that actually allowed me to put a brand to, or a label to the name, some that didn't. So starting from the right here, Spring Lane, they did $2.3 million in Amazon sales. Our audit ran that $60,000 could be recovered from them. Currently, we've recovered 46 and a bit $1,000 with 215 cases. There's $14,000 and 12 more pending cases that we're working with Amazon. Just jumping over Bicycle Addiction, top Amazon seller, really cool people and cool team out there. $60,000 in pending cases. We reimbursed over $1 million for them so far. They're in our $1 million club. So we typically see 1 to 3% of Amazon's sales being lost to these types of recoveries that you can get back. And then the last one, top 5 Amazon seller, tons of cases. They sold very small items. So we found lots of cases that Amazon were losing, breaking, or misplacing. Thank you again, guys. Like, this was amazing to kind of be in the last portion. If you need anything, you can email me. I appreciate the time.
Awesome. Thank you, Joseph. That was great. Yeah, I think all these things that are, I always explain it like a, left brain, right brain. Our right brain is so focused on driving profits or driving revenue and sourcing new products that we sometimes forget to put our left brain hat on and do all these things, especially the profit recovery strategies that especially seller investigators do. There's just so much money left on the table. But again, we take our eye off that and we start doing that. We take our eye off sourcing new products and all the other things that we should be doing. So I always tell my clients it's finding the left brain things that other people can do for you so that you can focus on the things that matter. So really appreciate that one. I think we're going to wrap it up. We've gone for about 2 hours here. So thanks everyone for coming. We'll have this video out shortly.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Guys.
Mark.
Thank you.
Bye.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.